Nathan Pierce stood at the floor-to-ceiling window of his corporate office, watching the city below rush through another frantic Monday morning. At 32 years old, he had built an empire that most people only dreamed about. His tech company had revolutionized cloud security, making him one of the youngest billionaires in the country. Board meetings, investor calls, and strategic acquisitions filled his calendar from dawn until well past midnight. Everyone wanted something from him. His time, his money, his connections, his name. The weight of it all pressed down on his shoulders like invisible chains made of gold. Every conversation felt calculated. Every smile seemed to hide an agenda. Even his closest friends from college had changed after his company went public, treating him differently, carefully, as though he might shatter or worse, cut them out of his life and his fortune. Last week, his assistant had scheduled his meals, his gym time, even his sleep. When he realized he could not remember the last time he had made a simple choice for himself, something inside him cracked. He needed to breathe. He needed to be someone other than Nathan Pierce, the billionaire CEO, even if just for a little while. Escape to somewhere real. On Friday afternoon, Nathan did something he had not done in 5 years. He canceled his entire schedule for the following week. His assistant nearly fainted. His board members flooded his phone with concerned messages. But Nathan simply turned off his phone, packed a single bag, and drove north along the coast until the skyscrapers disappeared behind him. The town of Harborview appeared like something from a forgotten postcard. Small shops lined the main street, their weathered signs swaying gently in the ocean breeze. Fishing boats bobbed in the harbor. People walked at a human pace, not the frantic sprint he had grown accustomed to in the city. No one recognized him here. No one stared or whispered or approached him with business proposals disguised as friendly conversation. He checked into a modest bed and breakfast, giving only his first name. The elderly owner, Mrs. Patterson, smiled warmly and asked if he was visiting for business or pleasure. For the first time in months, Nathan answered honestly. Just needed a break from the usual routine. Mrs. Patterson nodded knowingly and handed him a key to room 7. She mentioned that Harbor Lights Café down the street made the best coffee in 3 counties and that Claire, the owner, was as sweet as the pastries she baked each morning. The morning that changed everything. Monday morning arrived with golden sunlight streaming through the curtains of his room. Nathan dressed simply in jeans and a plain navy sweater, no designer labels, no expensive watch, no silk tie. He looked at himself in the mirror and barely recognized the relaxed stranger staring back at him. This was who he used to be before the money, before the pressure, before he became a brand instead of a person. Harbor Lights Café sat on the corner of Main Street and Ocean Avenue, its blue and white striped awning fluttering cheerfully in the morning breeze. Through the large front windows, Nathan could see a cozy interior with mismatched wooden tables, potted plants on the windowsills, and local artwork covering the exposed brick walls. The whole place radiated warmth and authenticity, 2 qualities that had become rare luxuries in his world. A small bell chimed as he pushed open the door. The aroma of fresh coffee and cinnamon rolls immediately enveloped him. Soft acoustic music played from hidden speakers. A handful of customers sat scattered throughout the cafe, reading newspapers, typing on laptops, or chatting quietly with friends. No one looked up when he entered. No one cared who he was or how much money he had. The anonymity felt like medicine for his exhausted soul. Meeting Claire Morrison. Behind the counter stood a woman arranging pastries in a glass display case. She looked up at the sound of the bell, and Nathan felt something unexpected stir in his chest. She was beautiful, but not in the polished, magazine cover way he had grown accustomed to at charity galas and corporate events. Her beauty was natural and unguarded. Light brown hair pulled back in a loose bun, a few strands escaping to frame her face. Warm hazel eyes that actually looked at him, not through him or past him to see what he could offer. A genuine smile that reached those eyes and made tiny lines appear at their corners. "Good morning and welcome to Harbor Lights," She wiped her hands on her apron and came around the counter. First time here? Yes, Nathan said, suddenly aware that he was staring. Just arrived in town yesterday. Well then, let me give you the unofficial tour. She gestured around the small space with obvious pride. Best coffee on the coast, according to Mrs. Patterson and about 14 other people who are definitely not biased. Fresh pastries every morning, and if you are lucky enough to be here on Tuesday or Thursday, I make my grandmother's apple turnovers, which are apparently life-changing according to my very reliable and completely objective regular customers. Nathan found himself smiling, a real smile that felt strange after months of practiced corporate expressions. Sounds like I came to the right place. She grabbed a menu from the counter and led him to a table by the window. The view overlooked the harbor where fishing boats prepared for their morning departure. What can I start you with? Coffee? Tea? A pastry that will ruin your diet but improve your whole day? The beginning of something unexpected. Coffee sounds perfect. And one of those life-changing apple turnovers, if you have any left. You are in luck. I saved a few from the morning rush. She pulled out a small notepad. I am Claire, by the way. Claire Morrison. I own this little place. Nathan. He deliberately left off his last name. Just Nathan. Nice to meet you, Nathan. She scribbled his order on the notepad. So what brings you to Harborview? Business, or are you one of those lucky people who gets to take actual vacations? Definitely the vacation category. Needed to unplug from work for a while. Claire nodded with understanding that seemed deeper than casual sympathy. I get that. Sometimes you need to step away from the noise to remember what actually matters. She looked at him for a moment longer than necessary, and Nathan wondered what she saw. I will get your coffee started. As she walked back to the counter, Nathan watched her move through the cafe with easy confidence. She greeted each customer by name, remembered their usual orders without asking, touched the shoulder of an elderly man reading the newspaper and asked about his grandson's baseball game. She was present in a way that people in his world had forgotten how to be. Every interaction was genuine, unhurried, focused. When Claire returned with his coffee and a warm apple turnover dusted with cinnamon sugar, she set them down carefully and then surprised him by pulling out the chair across from him. Do you mind if I sit for a minute? The morning rush just ended, and I have about 10 minutes before I need to start prepping for lunch. Please. Nathan gestured to the chair, feeling inexplicably pleased by her company. So Nathan, where are you from? The city. He kept it deliberately vague. Work in the tech industry. Ah, one of those people who stares at screens all day. No wonder you needed an escape. She sipped her own coffee, studying him with open curiosity that felt refreshing rather than invasive. What made you choose Harborview? We are not exactly a tourist destination, honestly. I just drove until the city disappeared behind me. Your town was the first place that looked like somewhere I could actually breathe. Claire smiled, and Nathan noticed the way her whole face transformed with it. That is exactly why I moved here 3 years ago. Used to work in marketing for a big firm in Seattle. 60-hour weeks, constant pressure, always climbing for the next promotion. Then my grandmother passed away and left me a small inheritance. Not much, but enough to make a choice. So I chose this. She gestured around the cafe with obvious affection. Bought this space, learned everything I could about coffee and baking, and built something that actually means something to me. Best decision I ever made. Recognition without revelation. Nathan felt a pang of envy. She had found what he was still searching for, purpose beyond profit, meaning beyond market share. Do you ever miss it? The corporate world, the pressure, the ambition? Claire considered the question seriously. Sometimes I miss the financial security. Running a small business is not exactly a path to riches. But I do not miss the person I was becoming in that world. Always stressed, always competing, always measuring my worth by my salary and my title. Here, I measure success differently. Did I make someone's morning better? Did I create a space where people feel welcome? Did I do something today that mattered to someone other than shareholders? That is a beautiful way to live. Nathan meant it sincerely. What about you? She leaned forward slightly. What does success look like to Nathan from the tech world? The question caught him off guard. In his real life, success meant quarterly earnings, stock prices, and acquisition deals. But sitting here, anonymous and unburdened, he found himself answering from a deeper place. I used to think success meant building something big, something that would last. But lately I have been wondering if I confused big with meaningful. You can build an empire and still feel completely empty. Claire's expression softened with understanding. That sounds lonely. It is. Nathan had not admitted that to anyone, possibly not even to himself. The apple turnover sat forgotten on his plate as their conversation deepened beyond small talk into something more substantial. For the next hour, they talked about everything and nothing. Books they had read, places they wanted to visit, childhood memories that still made them smile. Claire told him about her grandmother who taught her to bake and see beauty in simple things. Nathan, carefully editing his stories, shared memories from before his wealth, before his name became a brand. When other customers began filtering in for an early lunch, Claire glanced at the clock and sighed. I should let you enjoy your food in peace and get back to work. This was incredible. Nathan gestured to his empty plate. You were right about life-changing. Come back tomorrow and try the blueberry muffins. They might change your life again. As Nathan left Harbor Lights Café that morning, something had shifted inside him. For the first time in years, he had been seen, really seen, not as Nathan Pierce the billionaire, but simply as Nathan, a person seeking connection and meaning. Claire Morrison had looked at him and seen someone worth talking to, worth knowing, without any awareness of his wealth or status. And that, Nathan realized as he walked along the harbor with the ocean breeze in his hair, felt more valuable than any amount of money he had ever earned. Tuesday morning found Nathan walking toward Harbor Lights Café with an unfamiliar feeling of anticipation. He had spent the previous afternoon exploring Harborview, walking along the beach, sitting on weathered docks watching fishing boats return with their catch. But his thoughts kept circling back to the café and its owner. The way Claire had listened to him, really listened, without judgment or hidden motives. The way her laughter sounded like wind chimes on a summer afternoon. When he pushed open the door at exactly 8:30, Claire looked up from the espresso machine and her face brightened with recognition. Nathan felt warmth spread through his chest at that simple, genuine reaction. Look who came back for those life-changing blueberry muffins. She wiped her hands on her apron, already reaching for a clean plate. Same table by the window? If it is available. Nathan settled into the chair that was quickly becoming his favorite spot in the world. The morning sunlight streamed through the glass, painting everything golden. Claire brought over coffee and a muffin that smelled like summer mornings and childhood memories. So, did you survive your first full day in Harborview? I know it can be quite a shock for city people. The pace here moves about half the speed you are probably used to. Honestly, it was exactly what I needed. Nathan broke off a piece of the muffin and tasted it. His eyes widened. Okay, you were not exaggerating about these. Told you. My grandmother would make these every Sunday morning. She said blueberries held tiny pieces of the sky, and eating them reminded you to keep your head up and your heart open. Claire pulled out the chair across from him again, her own coffee cup in hand. I have about 20 minutes before the breakfast rush hits. Tell me what you did yesterday. Layers of truth and careful omissions. Nathan found himself talking easily about his afternoon exploring the town, about the elderly man at the bookshop who had recommended 3 novels, about the sunset he watched from the pier. He edited carefully, leaving out the fact that he owned a penthouse with a private rooftop where he usually watched sunsets alone, if he watched them at all. Leaving out the reality that his assistant typically scheduled even his leisure time. "What about you?" Nathan asked. "What does a typical day look like for Claire Morrison?" Claire laughed and gestured around the cafe. "You are looking at it. Up at 5 to start baking. Open the doors at 6:30 for the early birds. Breakfast rush from 7 to 9. Prep for lunch. Afternoon crowd. Close at 6. Then I spend evenings working on my other project." "Other project?" Nathan leaned forward, genuinely curious. Her eyes lit up with passion that made her even more beautiful. "I am trying to start an arts program for kids in the community. Nothing fancy, just a space where children who might not have access to art supplies or classes can come and create. Paint, draw, sculpt, whatever speaks to them. I believe every child deserves a chance to express themselves creatively." Nathan felt something tighten in his chest. In his world, people started foundations and charities for tax benefits and positive press coverage. But Claire spoke about helping children with pure, unfiltered sincerity. "That sounds amazing. How far along is the project?" "Still in the dreaming phase, mostly." Claire's smile dimmed slightly. "Running this cafe takes most of my time and resources. But I have been saving a little each month. Maybe in a year or two I will have enough to rent a small space and buy some basic supplies. It is slow going, but I would rather build it the right way than rush and have it fall apart." Nathan wanted to tell her he could write a check right now that would make her dream reality by next week. He could fund an entire building, hire professional art instructors, provide scholarships. But something stopped him. If Claire knew who he really was, would she still sit across from him like this, sharing her dreams with unguarded honesty? Or would she see dollar signs and opportunities, like everyone else in his life? The weight of unspoken truths. "That is admirable," Nathan said carefully. "Building something with your own hands, your own effort. It will mean more that way." The morning rush arrived as predicted, and Claire excused herself to handle the influx of customers. Nathan watched her work, noticing the small kindnesses she extended to everyone. The way she remembered that old Mr. Henderson needed his coffee extra hot because it cooled too quickly in his thermos. The way she slipped an extra muffin into the bag of a young mother who looked exhausted and overwhelmed. The way she high-fived the little boy who proudly showed her his missing front tooth. This was what real wealth looked like, Nathan realized. Not numbers in a bank account, but the richness of genuine human connection. Days became a pattern. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Nathan returned each morning at 8:30. Each day, Claire saved 20 minutes to sit with him before the rush. They talked about books, about their childhoods, about dreams and fears and the strange paths life took. Nathan shared carefully curated stories from his past, always editing out the wealth, the fame, the empire he had built. He talked about his love for coding, but framed it as a hobby rather than the foundation of a billion-dollar company. He mentioned business trips but made them sound like ordinary work travel, not private jets to meetings with world leaders and tech giants. The lying felt wrong, like building a house on a foundation of sand. But the connection he felt with Claire was the most real thing he had experienced in years. He told himself he would reveal the truth soon, when the time was right, when their bond was strong enough to withstand the revelation. Claire, for her part, shared her life with complete openness. She talked about her struggles to keep the cafe profitable, about the loan she was still paying off, about her fear that she had made a mistake leaving her stable corporate job. She showed him the notebook where she sketched ideas for the art studio, simple floor plans and supply lists and dreams rendered in pencil on lined paper. Nathan ached with the desire to help, to fix her problems with the resources he possessed. But he knew that offering money would change everything, would expose him, would transform their relationship into something transactional. A rainy afternoon of revelation. Saturday arrived with unexpected rain, the kind that turned the harbor gray and sent people scurrying for cover. Nathan walked to Harbor Lights under an umbrella, his morning visit now as essential as breathing. The cafe was quieter than usual, the weather keeping many customers at home. Claire stood at the window, watching rain create patterns on the glass. She turned when the bell chimed and smiled with what looked like relief. "I was hoping you would still come despite the weather. Takes more than a little rain to keep me away." Nathan shook out his umbrella and joined her at the window. "Actually, I think I prefer it like this. Cozy." "Me too." Claire glanced around the nearly empty cafe. "Want to sit at the counter? I am making soup for lunch, and I could use the company while I cook." Nathan settled onto a stool while Claire moved around the small kitchen behind the counter, chopping vegetables with practiced efficiency. They fell into easy conversation, the kind that flowed without effort or awkward pauses. At one point, Claire asked him about his family, and Nathan found himself sharing real truth for the first time. "My parents died when I was 23. Car accident. I was just starting my career, trying to figure out who I wanted to be. Losing them made everything feel urgent, like I needed to accomplish something significant to make their loss mean something." Claire stopped chopping and looked at him with compassion that brought unexpected tears to his eyes. "I am so sorry, Nathan. That must have been incredibly hard." "It was. Still is sometimes. But I threw myself into work, into building something. Maybe too much. I think I confused being busy with healing, achieving with honoring their memory. Do you think they would be proud of who you became?" The question struck deep. Nathan thought about the empire he had built, the money he had accumulated, the power he wielded. Would his parents, simple people who valued kindness over success, be proud? "I think they would want me to be happy. And I have not been, not really, not in a long time." The moment everything shifted. Claire came around the counter and sat beside him. Her hand found his on the worn wooden surface, a touch that sent electricity through his entire body. "Nathan, can I tell you something? I know we have only known each other for a week, but I feel like I have known you much longer. You are different from anyone I have met in a long time. Real, you know." Guilt crashed over Nathan like a wave. She thought he was real, but he was lying to her every moment, hiding the most fundamental truth about himself. He opened his mouth to confess everything, to tell her about the money and the company and the life he had left behind. But fear stopped him. Fear that this fragile, beautiful thing growing between them would shatter the moment she knew the truth. "You are different too, Claire," he said instead, his thumb brushing across her knuckles. "Being here, being with you, has reminded me what actually matters in life." "What matters to you, Nathan?" He looked into her eyes, those warm hazel eyes that saw him, the real him beneath all the layers of wealth and status. "This. Simple moments. Honest conversations. Connecting with someone who does not want anything from me except my company. I do not want anything from you except exactly what you are giving me." Her voice was soft, intimate. "Your time, your attention, your friendship. Maybe someday something more than friendship, if you feel the same way." Nathan's heart hammered in his chest. "I feel the same way. More than you know." They sat in comfortable silence, hands linked, rain drumming steadily on the roof. In that moment, Nathan made a decision. He would tell her the truth. Soon. But first, he needed to show her that his feelings were real, that Nathan Pierce the billionaire and Nathan the man sitting in her cafe were the same person, that wealth had not corrupted his capacity to love genuinely. Outside, the rain continued to fall, washing the streets clean. Inside Harbor Lights Café, two hearts moved closer together, one honest and open, the other burdened with secrets that would soon demand to be spoken. Sunday morning arrived with brilliant sunshine, as though the previous day's rain had washed the world clean. Nathan walked toward Harbor Lights Café with a small box tucked under his arm. Inside was a sketchbook and a set of professional colored pencils he had purchased from the art supply store 2 towns over. Not expensive enough to reveal his wealth, but quality enough to show Claire he had been listening to her dreams. He planned to give her the gift, then finally tell her the truth about who he was. The secret had become unbearable, a weight pressing on his chest every time she smiled at him with complete trust. She deserved honesty. Whatever happened after his confession, at least it would be real. The cafe was moderately busy with the after-church crowd. Nathan spotted Claire immediately, her hair catching the sunlight as she moved between tables. She saw him and her entire face lit up, that smile that had become the best part of his days. He was heading toward their usual table when everything changed. "Nathan Pierce, as I live and breathe." The voice came from behind him, familiar and unwelcome. Nathan turned slowly, his stomach dropping, to find Jeremy Blackstone standing near the entrance. Jeremy was a business associate, someone Nathan had worked with on several commercial real estate ventures. Someone who absolutely knew who Nathan was and how much money he had. "Jeremy, what are you doing here?" Nathan kept his voice low, hoping to contain the situation. "Visiting my sister for the weekend. She lives just outside of town." Jeremy's eyes narrowed with curiosity as he took in Nathan's casual clothes and the small cafe. "Never expected to find you in a place like this. Where is your usual entourage? The assistant, the security detail, the people who follow you around making sure the billionaire stays comfortable?" The moment truth shatters peace. The word seemed to echo through the cafe. Nathan saw several heads turn, including Claire's. She had been approaching with a coffee pot, but now she stood frozen halfway across the room, her expression shifting from confusion to dawning realization. "Billionaire?" Claire's voice was quiet, but it carried across the suddenly silent space. Nathan felt his world tilting. This was not how it was supposed to happen. He was supposed to sit her down, explain carefully, make her understand. Not this. Not ambushed in front of everyone. Jeremy, oblivious to the destruction he was causing, continued enthusiastically. "You are Nathan Pierce, man. Your company revolutionized cloud security. You are worth what, $3 billion now? 4? I lost track after that merger last year." His eyes moved to Claire with new interest. "Wait, does she not know who you are? Nathan, is this true?" Claire set the coffee pot down on the nearest table with shaking hands. "Are you Nathan Pierce? The tech billionaire?" The hurt in her voice cut deeper than any business failure ever had. Nathan took a step toward her, hands outstretched. "Claire, please. Let me explain." "Explain what?" "That you have been lying to me for 2 weeks?" She backed away from him, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I told you everything about my life. My struggles, my dreams, my fears. And you have been pretending to be someone you are not?" "I never pretended." Nathan's voice broke. "Everything I told you about myself was true. I just left out certain details." "Certain details?" Claire laughed bitterly. "Being a billionaire is not a detail, Nathan. It is who you are. And you chose to hide it from me while I sat there worrying about paying my bills, talking about saving pennies for my dream project. You must have thought I was pathetic." The defense of desperate honesty. "No." Nathan moved closer, not caring that every person in the cafe was watching. "I thought you were extraordinary. I thought you were the first person in years who saw me as a human being instead of a bank account. Do you know what it is like to never know if people like you for yourself or for what you can give them? So you lied to find out?" Claire's voice rose. "You tested me like some kind of experiment? I did not mean it that way." Nathan ran his hands through his hair, searching for words that would make her understand. "I came here to escape my life. I was drowning in expectations and pressure and people who only cared about my money. Then I met you, and for the first time in forever, someone looked at me and saw Nathan. Just Nathan. Not the CEO, not the billionaire, just a person. I was terrified that telling you the truth would change that. It would have changed things. Claire's voice softened slightly, though tears now ran freely down her cheeks. But at least it would have been honest. You let me trust you, let me share my struggles with you, all while knowing you could solve my problems with pocket change. How am I supposed to believe anything between us was real? Because it was real. Nathan's own eyes burned with tears. Every conversation, every moment, every feeling I have for you is the most real thing in my life. The money does not change who I am inside. It does not change the fact that I have fallen in love with you. The cafe went completely silent. Claire stared at him, shock replacing the hurt on her face. You love me? The price of truth. Yes. Nathan laid his heart bare in front of strangers, not caring who heard. I love the way you remember everyone's favorite order. I love how you talk about your dreams with your whole heart. I love that you measure success by kindness instead of profit. I love who I am when I am with you. And I know I destroyed your trust, and I do not blame you for hating me right now, but I need you to know that my feelings for you have nothing to do with my bank account. Claire pressed her hands to her face, shoulders shaking. I do not hate you. That is what makes this so hard. I have fallen for you too, Nathan. But I do not know which version of you is real. The man who sat in my cafe talking about feeling empty despite building an empire, or the billionaire who lied to someone he claimed to care about. They are the same person. Nathan pulled the small box from under his arm and set it on the nearest table. I bought you something. Not because I am rich, but because I listened. Open it. With trembling hands, Claire unwrapped the box. When she saw the sketchbook and colored pencils, fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. You remembered. I remember everything you tell me. Nathan took a careful step closer. Claire, I know I handled this terribly. I should have told you the truth from the beginning. But I was a coward, afraid to lose the only genuine connection I have had in years. I do not expect you to forgive me right away. But please, give me a chance to prove that my feelings are real. Building something real. Claire looked down at the art supplies, then back at Nathan. Her expression was complicated, hurt and hope warring for dominance. How do I know this is not just guilt? How do I know you are not just trying to fix another problem with money and grand gestures? Because I am not offering you money. Nathan held her gaze. I am offering you me. The broken, lonely, messed up person who found something precious in your cafe and tried desperately to hold on to it the wrong way. I want to help with your art studio, but not by writing a check. I want to help you build it, with my own hands, my own time, my own effort. Let me earn back your trust the way you would respect, through honest work and consistent action. Claire was quiet for a long moment. The other customers had started to return to their own conversations, giving them a measure of privacy. Finally, she spoke. I need time, Nathan. Time to process this, to figure out what I feel beneath the hurt and confusion. I understand. Nathan's heart ached, but he respected her honesty. Take all the time you need. I will be here, no more secrets, no more hiding. Just me, exactly as I am. Love finds its foundation. Over the following weeks, Nathan did exactly what he promised. He returned to Harbor Lights every morning, but he no longer sat at his usual table. Instead, he volunteered to help Claire with the cafe work. He washed dishes, wiped tables, learned to work the espresso machine. He showed up in old jeans and work boots to help repair the leaking roof. He attended community meetings about the potential art studio space, contributing ideas but never money, letting Claire lead the project her way. Slowly, carefully, trust began to rebuild. Claire watched as Nathan proved himself through actions rather than words or wealth. She saw him interact with customers with genuine kindness, no superiority or condescension despite his billions. She noticed how he listened to the ideas of others, how he valued community input, how he treated everyone with equal respect regardless of their social status. One morning, about a month after the revelation, Claire found Nathan repainting the cafe's exterior before opening time. She stood watching him work, brush in hand, completely focused on making each stroke even and careful. "You know," she said softly, "I could have hired someone to do that." Nathan turned, paint flecked across his cheek. "I know. But I wanted to do it myself. For you." Claire set down the coffee she had been holding and crossed to him. She reached up and wiped the paint from his face with her thumb. Nathan Pierce, billionaire, covered in paint at 6 in the morning. Who would have thought? "Is it working?" His voice held hope and vulnerability. "Am I earning my way back?" "You are getting there." She smiled, the first genuine smile she had given him since the truth came out. "You are showing me that the man I fell for was real, just more complicated than I thought. I think I can work with complicated." A new beginning. Nathan set down his paintbrush and took her hands gently. "I will spend the rest of my life proving to you that my love is real. No more secrets, no more hiding. Just honest, messy, imperfect truth. I do not need perfection." Claire moved closer. "I just need honesty. And I need you to understand that I fell in love with Nathan the person, not Nathan the billionaire. Your money does not impress me. But your heart does. Then let me give you my heart. It is the only thing I own that actually matters." They kissed as the sun rose over Harborview, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Around them, the town was waking up, fishing boats heading out to sea, shop owners opening their doors, life continuing in its simple, beautiful rhythm. 6 months later, the community art studio opened in a renovated warehouse near the harbor. Claire had raised the money through local grants, fundraisers, and community support. Nathan had contributed labor, not money, helping to build the space with his own hands alongside volunteers from the town. On opening day, children filled the bright rooms, their laughter and creativity bringing Claire's dream to vibrant life. Nathan stood beside her, watching a little girl carefully paint a sunset on her canvas. "This is what real success looks like," he said quietly. Claire took his hand, squeezing gently. "Yes. This is what love looks like too. Built together, brick by brick, truth by truth, with honest hands and open hearts." They had found something rare and precious. Not a fairy tale romance built on deception and wealth, but a real love built on honesty, respect, and the courage to be genuinely known. And that, they both understood, was worth more than any fortune in the world.